Hi, my name is Justin Lawson, and in this video I'm going to be doing a track breakdown of my latest track, You Make Me Feel. If you like this video, please leave a like and subscribe. So, first of all, I'm going to show you how I basically come up with the idea of this track, and it started off basically, I just made a bunch of loops like this. And I probably made like 20 of these, and this is probably the best one out of them all. And you just expand from there. So if I start from the very beginning, which would be the drums, I just zoom in and actually mute everything, and I'll go through what effects and the sort of processing I did behind each of the instruments and different synthesizers that I use. There's quite a lot going on in this project, so just bear with me. Okay, so to start off with, the kick, just a standard kick. I can't remember what sample pack I got it from, the J-Funk house sample pack. It's quite a low end kick, nice bit of punch to it. Not a very long tail to it, because the sub bass is the lengthy part of that frequency. So you want your kick to be nice and short if you've got that kind of sort of sub bass in your track. And the processing behind it, reverb is more of an effect. So if I show you how I use the reverb in this, I think I took the kicks out on this last section here. So it doesn't really do much in this track now, but at the start of it, it sort of faded out into the drop section. So in this automation, it kind of just sets itself back slightly, and then it doesn't really make that much of a difference really, but it's very subtle. I used the EQ as just a filter, which is here. So here you can hear it. It's very, very low, but it's good for just cutting the highs off for this break section here. Yeah, that's it. Underneath that, because I felt that the kick it was punchy, but it didn't really sort of click through how I wanted it to. So here I added just a very, very small, they call it a top kick, and you can get this in the Cashmere packs, there's loads of them there, and you just layer that with your kick, and it just gives it that little tick that you want right at the start. And in fact, I actually probably took that out because this was muted when I opened this project, and plus these are all here, so I'm guessing I must have taken that out. So it's a little bit irrelevant, but I used it right at the start and decided probably at the end that I don't need it. So then that's the kick. So the next section of the drums, and these drums will play throughout the whole track except for this section here where I took out everything and just the kick and the bass and the synth playing. So the next part of the loop is just a really sort of, actually there's a bit of delay going on from something else which I'll go into in a bit. I'll just turn that off for now. But a really I think it'll sound better in this section. A really short and punchy, is that a snare or a clap? Yeah, so this is a snare. Really small, really sharp, just tight in the drums. And that plays plays nicely with the kick because that's nice and small and tight as well. Also in that pattern, I used this hi-hat here, which has got like a delay effect to it. So if I show you how I use that, I use the transient designer just to bring out that tick right at the start, because this hi-hat is sitting right back in the mix, so it doesn't really shine through as you would hear it, but without it there's something missing, so it just gives that high frequency sitting in the background. So that's that delay effect here. As you can see, it's been automated. And then I use the peak controller, and that's ducking something else somewhere else in the mix. We'll probably find that out in a bit. And some reverb, just to push it back to where I wanted it. So this hi-hat I wanted to sit right at the back, so when I'm spacing out my drums, when I'm doing the mix down at the end, this is probably where I put it in, because this hi-hat is more sort of a background noise, just tickling in the background. And just a simple EQ, just cut some of the low end. There's not really any low end in it really, but it's worth just putting that in there just in case. I don't do that as much now, because really it doesn't really sort of build up as much as what people say it does, but it's all at the time, which was, I can't remember how long, this was an old project that I brought back to life. At the time I would have done that to pretty much every part of the drums. So that's the hi-hats and the snare. So the next part of that loop is just another hi-hat. So this will sit nicely on top. So that delay sits nicely with this hi-hat now. And with that one, I just use a simple, it's nothing special there, just a normal hi-hat, and I think it's this one. What's this one? Yeah. So once again, transient designer, bring out some of the attack on that, and then peak controller again, which is cutting out something else in the mix, which I'm not sure what it's on, but we'll find out in a bit when I go onto that instrument. Same again, just some reverb on there, just to push that back, not as far back as the other one. This one is slightly forward. Still present though. Okay, so the next part of the drums, and as you can see, I kept this project really to sort of just a 1 bar loop, and that plays out throughout the whole drums, just a 1 bar loop, and I feel like that's really easy way to just keep everything looping and just sounding just house music really. House music is just one big loop after a loop after a loop. So that's that. On to the next part, which is the open hi-hats. So I've got some automation on here, which is the delay, and I've actually got 2 instruments playing in this one now, so I've actually got 3. So let's go through them. So this first one, just a little rhythm in the background, still sticking to the same thing of a 1 bar loop. And what processing did I do on that? I think I might have just put that in the same channel as the other one, so I'm just stacking them on top of each other. So the next part of that is the open hi-hat, which would be this one, which I've called Snare, but I don't know why. I must have just typed it in wrong, and I've used a bit of soft clipping on that. That's just to add a very, very tiny bit of distortion to it, just so it sort of peaks out a bit better. You can hear it's just a little bit more snappy. If I turn that off, you can hear the difference in volume, and that's just adding a tiny bit of clipping to the top of that open hi-hat. Really brings it out in the drums. And then again, more reverb, which I've changed this one to more of a, I've changed the size, I brought it right down, so that means it's going to come a lot closer in the mix. And of course in house music it's very prominent. And then with that I've just sort of brought it back and then just dialed in the wet knob just to sit it where I want it to sit in the mix. Simple EQ again on this one, just cut the lows and then I took a tiny bit off the high, and I did that because I wanted the other hi-hats had more of a frequency range up that end, so they can peek through, and then the mid-range of this open hi-hat is still going to sit nicely in here anyway, and then I'll just cut the high off and then let the other hi-hats come through and it just sort of merges together. What else did I have in here? Oh yeah, it was the rim. So sticking to the same thing of a 1-bar loop, this is gonna sort of play out throughout the whole track, and this is sort of the call and response to the other instruments. And that's just simple rim shot basically. No processing done to that one. But what did I do to it? Oh, and this is basically in the same mixer track as that open hi-hat, so that's also got a soft clipper and reverb, so they sit in the same spot in the mix basically. And as you heard, it just plays at the start of the loop, and I've done that for a reason, because later on in the track, in the next instrument, which is this one here, so you've got that rim, and then this snare comes in as well. And with this, I just rolled off a load of the tail end of the snare and made it just a little bit tighter. That's all I've done on that. And what did I do for processing for this one? Just reverb. So I was just basically placing that where I wanted it to be in the mix with this reverb. I didn't even do any EQing on this, so it's just a simple instrument, doesn't need a lot of processing. And with all of my drums, I bus it all to one mixer channel in the end anyway, so I'll do the majority of processing in this one. And when I mean majority, I mean adding distortion, compressing, reverb, that, and the reverb is just as an automation as I can use it to filter in and out throughout the mix. Same again with this one. This is a filter as well, so I'll go into that a bit more after I've shown you all the drums. So that you got, so that's that section. Now the ending of that 1-bar loop, so you got 1, 2, 3, loop again. So you ready? So this is basically, that is just sort of a call and response between these two, and that just really helps the sort of track and the loop sort of just play out throughout, and you can always hear it. And that snare, maybe you could call that just a fill in the middle, but it still sort of works with everything. Okay, on to the next part. Let's put the kick in there. So this is, oh, before I show you that, the next part is my drum bus. So I use Blood Overdrive for distortion to just bring out a bit more of the highs.